Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Asmadgurubhyo Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishwaro Guru Ratmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Om Shri Medha Dakshina Murti Swamine Namaha. Om Sahana Vavato Sahanau Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastuma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavatam Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamrita Varshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvam Anusandhadami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshinim Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sankapada Kramopanishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavasti Tadadgatena Manasam Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantanna Vidusura Suraganaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Om. So, namaste once again, everyone.
Namaskaram, Guruji.
Namaskaram.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste. Tyaktva karma phala sangam nitya tripto nirashrayah karmanya bhipravrittopi naiva kinchit karoti saha. So, as we were discussing, verses 19 to 24 are a commentary on the verse number 18. I hope you remember what is verse number 18. Very important verse. Okay. And I also mentioned that in this verse, the verses 22, 23 and 24, Krishna talks about, that is the verse number 20, 22, 23, 24, Krishna talks about Grihastha Jnani, where he addresses a very important misunderstanding that many Grihasthas have. One second. So verses number 20, 22, 23, 24, Krishna talks about Grihastha Jnani, where he addresses a very important misunderstanding that many Grihasthas have. They feel that as long as they are involved in the Grihastha-ashrama, as long as they are engaged in discharging their duties and responsibilities, as long as they have got liabilities and commitments, they cannot aspire for moksha. Of course, it's a different matter that what they understand by the word moksha is also totally different. But even if they understand moksha in Vedantic parlance, still most of them feel that given all these responsibilities, where am I going to attend the classes? Where am I going to get this this knowledge and all that anxiety is always there for most of the grihasthas rather. And Krishna wants to dispel this notion and wants to assure that with all these and more, a grihastha can be a jnani, he can attain moksha. So it's a very great encouragement Krishna is giving not only to sannyasis but also to grihasthas. And that is why he said, Karmani akarma yap pashyet. The most important thing for all of us is to understand in the right perspective what is the nature of the action that is being done by us. Who is doing the action? Because all our happiness, unhappiness is directly connected to the actions that we take, which stems from our desires. Desire followed by action, followed by unacceptable result of the action, unhappiness. Desire, action, good result of action, happiness. This we should be very clear in our mind. This is the chain which we have to understand. So what causes unhappiness, we have to be very clear. And that can be overcome only by knowledge. Knowledge of not just the self alone, because self-knowledge includes everything that both the anatma and atma, the anatma does and atma doesn't do, which we think the atma is doing. So Krishna wants to emphasize that grihastha also can be a jnani. And the second point Krishna wants to point out is that a person can gain jnanam whatever be the status in his life. It does not depend upon the lifestyle that one has. Ajnanam or ignorance is the cause of bondage and jnanam is the cause of liberation, that we all know. The setup in which one is has nothing to do with bondage or liberation. And therefore, if a person is a jnani, then he is liberated even if he is in the midst of the society. On the other hand, if a person is an ajnani, he is going to be miserable even if he is in the best of the setups rather. As I say, he could be a miserable person even in the best ashram in Badrinath or Rishikesh or wherever it is rather. Therefore, the setup has got nothing to do with your happiness. Unfortunately, all of us, or at least I would say most of us, we attribute our unhappiness to the setup and we keep on trying to change the setup. We think that if we change this, we will become happy. But that doesn't happen. Maybe temporarily you do gain some happiness, but going on changing the setup is not going to lead anywhere. It will only lead from one happiness to another happiness. So Krishna is giving a very strong message here. Understand what this is all about. And nothing to do with setup. Don't make setup an excuse for not doing what you should be doing. And generally, as he says in this sloka, all grihasthas are karmani abhipravrittah. Abhipravrittah means extremely active. But as a grihastha jnani, he is nitya triptah. He does not seek fulfillment through all these activities. A jnani being in the same setup, a grihastha jnani, with all people around him, will be very active. But he is not seeking fulfillment through those activities. If my fulfillment is going to depend upon the child's completion of education, if the fulfillment is going to depend upon the daughter's wedding, if my fulfillment is going to depend upon my son or daughter getting becoming a parent, and that too not a parent of one child, one girl, one boy. I will get fulfillment if I got one grandson and one granddaughter. If my fulfillment is going to depend upon what position I am occupying in my organizational setup, it can go on and on and on. In and through all these, when will I ever get fulfillment? So as I said earlier, it will be like for the waves to subside before entering the sea for a bath. It's never ever going to happen. Let the waves be there. If you want to take a bath in the sea, you will have to go. Let the waves be there. You have your bath and come out. Therefore, the important message is a jnani does not connect fulfillment with his pursuits. He does not do the activities for fulfillment, but he does them with fulfillment. And what is the source of fulfillment for a jnani? The higher I. Purnamadav Purnamidham Purnat. Jnani knows Aham Purnaha. A jnani has got UHS gadget installed in this Antakarana. What is this UHS? Uninterrupted happiness supplier. It is just like the UPS we have, uninterrupted power supply we installed at homes. So that even when the power goes off, we can continue to use all our electrical gadgets. We can continue with our activities. Therefore, what happens? I use the regular power as long as it is there. And even when it is not there, I have got an alternative source in which I can dip into it. Alternative source is the UHS I have inbuilt in my Antakaranam. I can dip into that and be happy always. Atmani eva atmana tushtaha. Just you can be happy with your own self without any relevance to the setup, surroundings, etc. Therefore, a jnani's satisfaction does not come from the setup. It comes irrespective of the setup. Because if you analyze, if happiness is coming from the setup, then it has a dependence on the setup. The setup throws up expectations and they have to be fulfilled. If not, the setup will be disturbed and you will have to spend the time and effort in first putting the setup in order. If someone is upset in the family or in your friends, you have to go and convince him or her, I didn't mean what I said. I am sorry. I love you. Repeatedly, you have to say, I love you. I love you. These days, everybody expects everybody else to keep on saying, I love you. I love you. And what happens in that? Suppose by mistake or, by oversight, once on one occasion, if you fail to say, I love you, then the other person starts thinking that you are upset and angry with him or her and all further problems come out of it. So constantly you require to maintain the supply of love. Because why? There is a love bankruptcy amongst all the people. And we all try to, artificially try to make up for their Father's Day, Mother's Day, Sister's Day, birthday, all the days, Brother's Day, everything we send, cards and things like that and all, I love you. If not anything else, at home they may be fighting, but on Facebook they will say, oh, mother, I love you. Thank you very much for all that you have done for me. You go to their house, they will be, both mother and son will be fighting. This is the artificial world we are all living in. We create this artificial atmosphere ourselves. You send cards. I am not saying that you should not do all these things. I should not send cards and birthday cards, Valentine Day cards, anniversary cards, get well cards. I'm not saying don't send it. But if you do not receive such cards, don't become upset. Well, normally, if you don't get these cards, most people become very upset. Oh, today was my birthday. Nobody remembered my birthday. I did not get a single card. So the whole birthday, this fellow will be sitting and brooding over it. Nobody bothered. Especially if it is the spouse, both genders I'm talking about. I'm not separating men and women. On a birthday, the expectation always is that my spouse will remember my birthday and say happy birthday first thing in the morning. If that doesn't happen, you have a big problem on it. The other spouse who failed to say happy birthday has a big problem on hand. So it's all, birthday cards and things like that. It becomes a card dependent life. We are depending on all these kinds of small things for our happiness. What a miserable life we are all leading, isn't it? But what is the attitude of a jnani? If cards and congratulations and happy birthdays come, wonderful. He is happy. If they do not come, also okay, equally wonderful. Because I am not having any expectation from anybody. Without my expecting, if things come to me, I am very happy. And if they don't come, I am not bothered. I don't become anxious. I don't become unhappy because of that. If people are around me, wonderful. If they are not around, also it is equally or sometimes more wonderful. But a jnani is discreet. He does not go around saying to everybody, if you are not around, it is wonderful. I don't miss you, etc. He may tell others that he misses their company, he feels their absence, etc. But that is not hypocrisy. He does that because he knows that the other person are expecting all this patting, this what you can say, encouragement, etc. They need to feel important. So a jnani does all these things to support the others. He does it out of love, genuine love he has. That is why, between love and attachment, there is a very thin dividing line. When a jnani does all these things to support others, that is love. But when he seeks support from others for all these things, it is attachment. If a jnani is seeking emotional support from others for his happiness, it is attachment. If I give love, if I give support, it is love. Therefore, a jnani does not have these emotional hang-ups. As I said, he fully understands aham purna asmi, nitya triptaha, always satisfied, contented, full. And once the UHS is there, uninterrupted happiness supply, the Vedantic UPS, uninterrupted Purnatvam supply is also there. And because of that, I don't lean psychologically on any external factor. Normally, we have psychological dependent on others, which is an emotional weakness. Just like people use a walking stick, When do they use a walking stick? When their legs are weak. Using a walking stick is a sign of weakness, not of strength. Similarly, emotionally depending on others is a sign of emotional weakness. You may give it a name, love and all that, but that is not love. That is only attachment. Therefore, depending on the external factors is not a sign of strength, but it is a sign of weakness. And that weakness is caused by what? By ignorance. Therefore, Strength comes only from knowledge, and because of that, Krishna describes a jnani as nirashraya. He does not have any psychological dependence. And we have to be careful. I am using the word psychological dependence, because I cannot avoid physical dependence on the external world, isn't it? I require food, I require clothing, I require shelter. Physically, dependence on the external world cannot be avoided. Even when we get old, we are dependent on so many other things also, right? Walking stick, as I just now said, hearing aids, dependence on the dentures. All those things we are dependent on. So you can't say that, no, I'm physically independent. Nobody can claim that. You can only work and achieve emotional independence, psychological independence. Because that is what matters in terms of whether you are happy or you are unhappy, right? So physical dependence does not cause samsara. Emotional dependence alone is the problem. And as we grow old, we become emotionally dependent on so many persons for so many things. In fact, as we grow old, we develop a very strong raga and dvesha. For example, if I have to be fed food, I only want my wife to feed food to me. I don't want anybody else. Emotional dependence. The physical dependence is one part. Okay, somebody has to feed you because you have got Parkinson's disease. So my hands I cannot eat. Fine. Somebody has to feed you. But if you are going to insist that only a particular person is going can feed you, means what? You are emotionally depending on that person. Or some people say, I will eat only if such and such person serves me. Such and such, I will go for a walk only if such and such person holds my hand. All these are all emotional dependencies. A jnani has no such dependence, and therefore nirashraya. And therefore only karma phala asangam tyaktva, he says. Even if a jnani has expectations of a particular result for the action, he has no anxiety about the result of action. Because as we have already seen, nobody will do any action without any expectation. Everybody has got expectations whenever they do the action. And the expectation is always in the form of the result of that action, isn't it? A jnani is not concerned over the result of the action. Because he has come through the karma yoga stage. Ishwararpanam and Ishwar Prasada Bhavana, he has come through those stages, jnani. In fact, this expecting the results of action, he has given up long before, even before he entered Jnana Yoga and eventually became a Jnani. Therefore, we must understand expectation is one thing, concern is quite another. As the Shubhasitam says, Prayojanam anuddishya mandopi na pravartate. Nobody will do any action without expectation. Even a dim-wit person will not do anything without expectation. So we must understand between expectation and concern. Expectation is based on planning. Okay, I am expecting this result. For that, I need to do all these things. Now I have done all these things. If you start worrying whether the result I will get or not, that becomes a concern, anxiety. So expectation is based on planning, concern is based on worry. Will it happen, not happen, kind of a thing. Therefore, karma phala asangam. Like, when a parent brings up a child, it is okay to have some plans. I want my child to become a doctor. I want my child to go to this particular university. And I want to do all those things which needs to be done for a good future for the child. All these expectations are okay. But if the expectation is fulfilled, wonderful. But if the expectation is not fulfilled, what kind of protection, psychological immunity do I have? You don't need any preparation for success. One needs lot of preparation to face failure. Very important thing. That's why, Puja Swamiji used to say beautifully, success in life is nothing but preparation for failure. If somebody says that he is very successful, first question you have to ask is, what do you mean by success? Just because this person has got a lot of material wealth, do you consider him to be success? Tomorrow, if everything is lost, unfortunately, God forbid, if he loses all that, will he look for some poison bottle or a railway line to give up his life? Can he face failure in life? A person who is fully prepared to face any kind of failure in life is a successful person. And if I am not prepared for failure, as long as I succeed, I am fine. Things are coming my way, I am very happy. All that I have done is I have successfully come up to the semi-final stage. But when the failure starts coming, I get defeated in the final. So from a hero at the semi-final stage, I become a villain in the final stage, in the eyes of people, in the media, etc. And the beauty is when we are watching, of course, I am taking the cricket example because now the World Cup is going on. People who have never held a bat or a ball in their life will pass expert comments about playing skill of the players, right? Oh, this fellow should have moved to the left, he should have bowled the ball this way. Expert, as if they were there, they would have taken the wickets, etc. Therefore, the short message is, if I fail, I am turned from a hero to zero. And we have seen this quite often happening, rather. It's not making up these stories. If the Indian team goes abroad and loses very badly, comes back, people will brick bats. The same team coming back home and it wins some World Cup and all, there's nothing great. Nothing, there is no other team as great as the Indian team. This is what people are. So therefore, what I should ask myself, how well am I prepared for failure? Failure is going to happen. Not all your expectations in life are going to be met. That is the reality. Question is, am I prepared for failure? And the preparation is nothing but being independent, not being anxious about the results of my action. I have done my best what I need to do. Now I'm going to forget it. Let whatever Bhagavan decides, karma phala he gives, I will accept it. Thank you, Bhagavan. Even though I have not received what I expected, I know that you will always give me what I deserve. Perhaps sometimes you will not give me what I desire. I will accept whatever is given to me as that is what I deserve. Therefore, karma phala asangam tyaktva. Asangam here we have to understand as emotional dependence, concern, anxiety. Tyaktva, having given up. So a jnani gives up the anxiety. And with such a healthy mind, such a prepared mind, such an immunized mind, a jnani will perform all his actions. And what is his condition? Naiva kinchit karoti saha. Even though he is involved in all the actions, in fact, such a jnani is as good as free from all actions, both in the philosophical sense and also in the psychological sense also. Both ways we can understand. In the philosophical sense, he is free from action because in and through all activities, he remembers his higher self, Atma, Karmani Akarma Yav Pashet. And therefore, he does not claim to be the doer of action, and therefore he has no anxiety about the results. This is the philosophical significance of the expression. Naiva kinchit karoti saha. And psychologically also, we have just discussed, we can understand, he has no dependence on anyone, either for the action or for the results of action. Therefore, the actions do not burden him. They do not produce any tension or anxiety. He does not spend sleepless nights thinking about that responsibility, this duty, I have to do this tomorrow. What will happen if I don't do it? Therefore, naiva kinchit karoti saha. This actions do not become a burden on him. Therefore, being nityatruptaha, nirashrayaha, the grihastha jnani is ever fulfilled, not because he has completed the family duties, but because he finds the fulfillment within himself or herself. There is no question of fulfillment after completing the duties, because in grihastha there will never be an end to duties. They will keep coming like wave after wave in the ocean. There is no question of finding rest after completing the duties. Therefore, rest has to be found. Leisure has to be found. Time for Vedanta has to be found. Not by completing the duties, but in spite of duties. And therefore, karmani abhipravrittopi, even though he is intensely active, extremely active, naiva kinchit karoti saha, he is as good as free from actions, because those actions do not become a burden on him. Swami Paramathananda ji gives a nice example. He says that when your shoes fit your feet, a correct size, you do not feel the presence of shoes. When do you feel the presence of shoes? When it does not fit properly. Either it is large for your feet or small for your feet. Then all the time it will keep on drawing your attention. Similarly, for a jnani, karma is not a burden at all. He just does it out of fulfillment. He is fulfilled already. He doesn't need to do anything. Still he does it. And we have seen earlier why he does it. What motivates a jnani to do it, we have seen. So now, having spoken about the grihastha jnani, Krishna in the next sloka 21 talks about a sannyasi jnani. We will read. Nirashiryata chittatma tyakta sarva parigraha shariram kevalam karma kurvannapnoti kilbisham. Sorry. So, Anvaya of the sloka is Tyakta Sarva Parigraha Yatachitta Atma Nirashihi Kurvan Karma Shariram Kevalam Na Apnoti Kilbisham. Tyakta Sarva Parigraha, having renounced all possessions. Yatachittatma, and having restrained the mind and body. Nirashihi, he remains free from all desires. Kurvan karma, engaging in minimum activity. Shariram, required for the maintenance of the body. Kevalam, without attachment. Na apnoti, he does not incur. Kilbisham, papam. Kilbisham is another word in the scriptures for papa. So, having renounced all possessions and having restrained the mind and body, he remains free from desires. Engaging in minimum activity required for the maintenance of the body without any attachment as to the results of those activity, he does not incur papam or sin. So as I said, in this verse, Krishna is talking about a sannyasi jnani. A person who does not have any possession, wife, children, bank balance. He does not, a sannyasi has renounced everything. He is a monk. Earlier, Krishna said, how can a grihastha jnani be free? Here he says, such a person who is a sannyasi jnani can also be a free person. But a sannyasi, what are the requirements for a sannyasi jnani to be a free, to sannyasi to be a jnani? He says, Tyakta sarva parigraha. He has to renounce all his possessions. Sarva parigraha means all possessions. Not only things, even relationships. So all of them have to be given up, which means what? All these things, the Vedas, the Shastras say have to be given up only in the Chaturtha Ashrama, Sannyasa Ashrama. And consequently, he becomes Nirashihi. Because after giving up all those things, if a person is going to continue to miss those things, then his giving up is of no use. And we already saw Krishna talking about such a person in the 3rd chapter. Karmendriyani sanyamya ya aste manasasmaran indriyarthan vimudhatma mityacharasa uchyate. We saw this sloka. Mityachara hai. He called such a person who has outwardly given up all possessions, all relationships, but inside, his mind is always engaged in the possessions and also in relationships. Such a person, Krishna calls him a mityachara. So if a person, after physically renouncing pleasures, if he is going to think of them or if he is jealous of those people who have all those things, oh, you see, this person has got a nice house, a very loving wife, beautiful, very, very, very obedient children. He's got so much money. He's got a car. He can drink coffee whenever he wants. He can eat whatever food he wants. He can tell his wife, cook for me. See, I think I made a mistake by taking up sannyasa without, analyzing all these things. So if he is going to miss those things after taking sannyasa, renunciation is a suppression. He will always have a mental pressure. Therefore, renunciation is meaningful only when I do not miss what I have renounced. And therefore, Krishna here says this monk, this sannyasi, is nirashi. He does not lack anything in life. And yatachittatma, the one who has mastered his body, mind, sense complex by sadhana. Because the sannyasa ashrama is a very tough ashrama. And that is why, knowing the difficulties of becoming a jnani after taking up sannyasa ashrama, Krishna is so compassionate to we grihasthas. He says, you don't need to take sannyasa ashrama. Even being a grihastha, you can become a jnani. For that, he gives a certain formula for that, certain sadhanas for that. This is what Bhagavan's compassion is all about. He does not say, this is the minimum qualification. If you don't become a sannyasi, you can't become a jnani. He doesn't dismiss the grihasthas. Because becoming a sannyasi means giving up a lot of comforts in life. One might have been used to sleeping in air-conditioned bedroom, very hot outside, very comfortable inside. Become a sannyasi, you may have to sleep on the floor, not even a bed. So, first of all, a sannyasi has to make his body fit for that. Because if a person has to give up comforts in life and he doesn't make his body fit, if the body is used to those comforts, then even though you may be mentally prepared, you might have mentally renounced, but the body is not prepared to accept that new condition. All of a sudden, actually the body will become sick. Therefore, the one who wants to take sannyasa, he must have both physical fitness as well as mental fitness. Therefore, yata chittatma. Here the word atma means the body, shariram, not Sachidananda Atma. Chittam means mind. So both chittam and the body, shariram, both of them are mastered. And such a person knows that whatever karma is done, whatever I need to do, shariram kevalam karma kurvan. He does not have any family possession, no responsibilities. Because possession and responsibility go together, as we know. And that's why we say, Grahastha ashrama has got its advantage and also got its disadvantage. Sannyasa ashrama also got advantage, also a disadvantage. So one need not feel jealous about the other ashrama. Grahastha ashrama, advantage is there is security. In fact, most people want to remain in Grahastha ashrama. They want to beget children, etc. for the purpose of security, so that in the old age, my children will look after me, I will get some physical help, and also sometimes monetary help, financial help from them, support from them. Of course, this is a fond hope of most parents that children will take care. And also otherwise also, if a person has purchased a house, has got a good bank balance, etc., there is this advantage of security in the Grihastha ashrama. But the disadvantage is that you are saddled with the responsibility of taking care of them. So security is an advantage, responsibility is a disadvantage. What about sannyasa ashrama? No responsibility, no wife to take care of, no children to educate, no money to invest. So there are no responsibilities at all. But at the same time, the disadvantage is that there is no physical security. Why only physical security? Even other emotional security is also not there. For a sannyasi, the only security which he has, a sannyasi, he or she has, and which is the most exalted security, is Bhagavan. Sannyasi gives himself at the hands of Bhagavan. This is what is meant by Sharanagati. I am not going to depend on anybody, anything else other than you, Bhagavan. Later on, Krishna will tell in the 9th chapter, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janaha paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yoga kshemam vahamyaham, he says. Those of you who have LIC policies will know Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham is the motto of LIC. They have borrowed it from this sloka only. So a sannyasi has got the divine life insurance protection, LIC. Grihastha has got local LIC. Sannyasi has got the divine LIC in the form of Ishvara Bhagavan. And whenever we talk about Ishvara Bhagavan, always remember we are talking about the cosmic system, the cosmic order. We are not talking about Vishnu, Shiva and all that. For a Vedanta student, for a Vedanta spiritual pursuer, whenever we say Bhagavan or Ishvara, it is the cosmic order. Give yourself up to the cosmic order, it will take care of you. And as I was saying, every ashrama has got plus and minus points. Therefore, it is no use comparing ashramas. We should learn to find security within ourselves. And therefore, Shariram Kevalam Karma. In fact, Sannyasa Asrama is some kind of a civil death. No family responsibility, no social responsibility. In fact, a sannyasi does not even have a power to vote. He can vote with the identity of his previous ashrama. But as a sannyasi, he is not supposed to take part even in voting, elections, etc. Because if he has to vote, he has to judge amongst all the contestants who is better. He has to make comparisons. But this militates against the samatva of bhava itself. Sannyasi is supposed to treat everybody alike, everybody the same. And therefore, a sannyasi does not even have social duties. So, what is the karma that he does? He has got only one duty. What is that? Bhagavan has given a body to me. I am the trustee of this body. Therefore, until my prarabdha is over, I have to take care of the body as Bhagavan's property. And therefore, Krishna says, Shariram Kevalam Karma. He needs to do all that is required, all karma, all actions required for the maintenance of body. He has to take bath, he has to wear clothes, even he has to do some yogasanas, exercises. He has to take care of his mind by being in meditation, japa. He has to move around asking for bhiksha. All these which are required for the maintenance of his body, mind, sense complex. It is only maintenance, not luxury, mind you. You should not think, oh, okay, sannyasi requires an air conditioner, so he will do work to earn money to buy an air conditioner. No. Only his body, mind, sense complex whatever minimum karma is required for the proper maintenance of that, healthy maintenance of that, karma kurvan. Bhiksha again. In that also a sannyasi has got no choice. He cannot choose. If he is in the house, he can request for dosa, paratha, etc. Isn't it? Can you make this today? Of course, as a grihastha, I'm talking, not a grihastha jnani. Because grihastha jnani, in terms of his attitude, there is no difference between a grihastha jnani and a sannyasi jnani. If you are going to be a grihastha jnani and then still you are looking for paratha, dosa and whatnot, pulao and all that, biryani, then what jnanam? Oh, God. But a sannyasi, he cannot go from house to house, bhavati dosa dehi, bhavati paratha dehi, bhavati biryani dehi. He can't do that. Whatever is given, he can only say bhavati bhikshan dehi. He has to eat whatever he gets. If he does not get anything, he has to drink water which nature gives and then sleep. He has to make his body fit. And that is why, all the vratams and things like that and all fasting, in our culture, they are all insisted upon because normally the scriptures expect that at some stage you will take sannyasa. In this life, if you have lived a full life, you will attain the last stage, which is a sannyasa ashrama. And that is what will pave the way for moksha. Even if not formal sannyasa ashrama, but at least a grihastha sannyasi. And therefore, such a sannyasi has to eat whatever he gets. If he has a good prarabdha, maybe some houses, they will give dosa, biryani, etc. We don't know. But in some houses, they may just give all stale food. Sannyasi cannot make any differentiation. Whatever food, if he finds the food stale, his choice is not to eat or go to some other house for bhiksha. There are also rules. Strict rules are there. How many houses he can go for bhiksha? All those things are there. But let us assume that those things are not strictly followed. Even then, he has to eat what he gets. So, shariram kevalam karma kurvan. Kilbisham na apnoti. He does not get any karma phalam. As I said, kilbisham literally means papa. And here we can interpret papam as karma phalam. Because a sannyasi does not have an ego, whatever he does for the maintenance of his body, it will not produce any punyam, any papam, etc. So, this is the description of a sannyasi jnani. Now, Krishna continues with further describing a jnani. Yadrichalapasantushtaha dvandvatito vimatsaraha samasiddhavasiddhau cha kritvapi na badhyate. Anvaya of this sloka is Yadricha labha santushtaha dvandva atitaha vimatsaraha samaha siddhau asiddhau cha kritva apina nibadhyate. Sorry. Yadricha labha santushtaha. Fully content with whatever is obtained by chance. Yadricha. Dvandva atitaha. Unaffected by the pairs of opposites. Vimatsaraha. Remaining free from jealousy. Samaha. Equanimous. Siddhau asiddhau cha, in success and failure. So, samaha siddhau asiddhau cha should be read together. Equanimous in success and failure. Kritva api, though engaged in action, na nibadhyate, he is not bound. So, fully content with whatever is obtained by chance, unaffected by the pairs of opposites. and remaining free from jealousy. He is equanimous in success and failure. Though engaged in action, he is not bound. So even though I said earlier that this sloka 22, Krishna talks about a Grihastha Jnani, but it can be taken both as a Grihastha Jnani sloka or a Sannyasi Jnani sloka also. One can interpret it in both the ways. Adi Shankara in his Bhashyam takes this verse as a description of a sannyasi jnani. But this can be taken, as I said, as a grihastha jnani also. Because Swami Paramathananda has interpreted this as a describing a grihastha jnani. And also Puja Swamiji, of course, Paramathanandaji's interpretation is following Puja Swamiji's interpretation. So we will understand this sloka from the standpoint of a grihastha jnani, mainly because all of us are grihasthas, aspiring to be jnanis, isn't it? More, if we understand from the standpoint of a grihastha jnani, it will be more relevant for us in our spiritual pursuit. But having said that, whether one is a grihastha jnani or a sannyasa jnani, there is no difference insofar as the attitude is concerned, attitude towards life, isn't it? So actually speaking, doesn't matter. It applies to both. Yadricha labha santushtaha. Such a jnani, he welcomes whatever happens in life as a result of his own karma. Doesn't blame anybody for whatever happens in life. Whether good happens, bad happens, expected happens, unexpected happens, acceptable thing happens, unacceptable thing happens, he does not put the blame on anybody else. Including Bhagavan, he does not blame. He fully understands that all this is happening because of the result of my own past karmas. He is satisfied with whatever comes to him as a result of his own past karmas. And we should always remember in our life, second chapter, important sloka, Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. You have control only over your actions. You have no control over the results of actions. So there is no point in being anxious, worried over the results of action. It's a very important lesson which we have to remember throughout our life, in everything that we do, that my future is not totally controlled by me. But having said that, we should be very careful. But generally what happens, we will go to this extreme or that extreme. There are one set of people who claim that I can order my future, I can decide my future, I can shape my future, I can totally control my future. This is one extreme. Arrogant type of people. They don't recognize contribution of other contributory factors or even contribution of Daivam, Bhagavan's contribution. And they will talk like this until they get a good thrashing from the cosmic powers. No human being can claim that. Even when Bhagavan came as an avatara, he could not totally decide what was going to happen. Krishna had to go as a emissary to the Kauravas. If Krishna knew that all this is all waste, why would he enter into all this ambassador business? And the other extreme is the fatalistic type, who say that nothing is under my control. I do not have any control at all with regard to my future. Everything is led by karma. So I don't need to do anything at all. I can't do anything also. This is the other extreme. On the one hand, one person takes 100% responsibility. On the other hand, another person takes 0% responsibility. Extreme, both extreme tend to go. Gita says both extremes are wrong. What's the right attitude? I am one of the important contributory factors with regard to my future. I am powerful. I have got the control as to what I can do. Even though I cannot totally decide, I can certainly influence my future. This is the right attitude. I think it's time now. We'll continue in the next class. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much,
Namaskaram, Guruji.
Namaskaram.
Thank you. Guruji,
Yeah.
the physical and emotional dependence, are they not interlinked?
Not necessarily. You may not be physically dependent, but you may be emotionally dependent.
No, there may be somebody dependent on you, whom you are, say, looking after health reasons or otherwise. You, with no emotion, can you just serve that person?
You don't, nurses in hospitals do that?
No, nurses, no. When family member, when, say, okay, they get admitted in the hospital or they come home, when you look after them, what kind of a burden is this on me, but still I have to discharge my responsibilities. That's why I'm asking physical and emotional dependence.
See, you can look at it in both the ways. If you are looking at that, you see, this is something that I need to do, right? Because this jiva requires it. You don't see that person as your relative or anybody for that matter. Let it be a dog which is got hurt on the road and you come across that dog. You have never seen that dog earlier. But there is this compassion in you. You will try to do whatever you do for that dog or that animal, right? There is no emotional attachment in that. So that is one kind of, physical dependent. The dog, you can say, is physically dependent on you to help it rather from whatever has happened to it. Similarly, a family member, you may not have any emotional. See, what we have to do is, as I said, between love and attachment is what we have to differentiate. The moment you talk about emotional dependence, either way, you are talking about attachment. Whereas if you are separating the emotion part of it from the action that you are doing it out of love. Because you love everybody, you love this person also. So we have to be very careful. Where we get all kinds of emotional disturbances is when we get emotionally involved in that. Physically, when we are doing anything, that's why I gave the example of a nurse, not from any other angle, because they don't have emotional attachment with the patient. They do everything right, which is physically required by the patient.
That is because they are earning. That is their job, duty.
Oh, correct. Earning is one part of it.
But that is the basic part. Otherwise, why will she serve as a nurse? Instead of serving as a nurse, she could have been somewhere else, earning.
There are people, I'm not talking about that common nurse who goes. I mean, we have heard stories of Mother Teresa, right? Doing everything physically for all the lepers and things like that and all, without any emotional attachment.
But she was also converting.
Oh, that is okay. I mean, again, you can always, attribute motives, but if you only look at the action part of it, So the point we have to do is, see, it will be very difficult unless, of course, you have already become a sannyasi. You have got total emotional independence. Unless you reach that stage, it will be very difficult to appreciate what Krishna is teaching in this. Because here he is talking about a person who has already become a sannyasi. Whether he's a grihastha sannyasi or a grihastha jnani or a sannyasi jnani.
Sannyasi Jnani.
We are work in progress. So what we have to understand, the message from the sloka is, you need to reach that stage. You may not have any physical dependence, but you may have emotional dependence on the contrary. For example, your children are overseas. You have no physical dependence on your children, right? When you fall sick, you have to go, you fend for yourself, go to the hospital yourself. Your son or daughter is not going to come and help you. Correct?
Agreed.
But if there is no phone call from your children for 1 week, do you feel something missing in your life?
Agreed. Precisely.
That
It
is
happens.
emotional dependence. Here we are not talking about physical dependence, we are talking only about emotional dependence. And when that phone call doesn't come, what happens? You start of thinking so many things. What might have happened, whether they are sick, whether they need any help, and they may not ask me. And see, I mean, that mind then goes on a totally uncontrolled imagination of so many things. Is it something that I told them last week that they are now angry with me and not talking to me? This is what happened. All that might have happened is when they are living there overseas. Maybe the internet did not work for a week. Quite possible. So they couldn't call you. Right? So this emotional dependence is what Krishna is talking about. Whether it is relatives, whether they are with you, they are without you. There are families who say everybody in the morning when they meet each other say good morning. I've seen such family. Suppose somebody doesn't say good morning. Immediately they ask, what happened? Last night you didn't have good sleep or what? Huh? Something wrong? You didn't say good morning to me. These kind of dependence, if you think about it, unconsciously we develop so many expectations from other people, so many emotional dependencies on other people, we get trapped into that. And constantly worrying, anxious about it, becoming unhappy because of that. How to get rid of it is what Krishna is saying. And there are various angles to this. This happiness business is not just one item, right? There are so many instances or incidences, or you can even think of possibilities, so many possibilities because of which one can become unhappy. Once you list it out and then start analyzing each one of them, what led to your unhappiness, you will always end up in, okay, I was emotionally dependent on that person for some expectation. That didn't happen, I become unhappy. So the crux of the whole thing is this emotional psychological dependence. And we have to work on it. I mean, it is not that one lecture you attend or one Puja Swamiji's talk and all that, you can overnight become emotional. It will take years and years for you to become totally emotionally independent, but at the same time, not having sour relationship with people. In fact, your attachment which was there, you should convert it into love. The same love, the same affection, the same compassion can continue with everyone around, without you getting affected by their condition, without you getting affected by the setup in which you are there. That does not mean that you have to forego them or you have to desert them or nothing. You can be there. What was attachment, what you understood till now was attachment, convert that into love, care. You care for everybody, but you are not expecting anything in return out of your compassion that you are giving this care, which is in the form of love. It takes time. I mean, you will have to work on it. I mean, it's not, nothing is going to, for a jnani, nothing happens automatically. You have to use your free will, work towards it. It may take years for that to happen, rather. That too, it will happen provided the karma yoga portion. You have done it successfully. You have actually come through it. Purification of mind is there. Chitta Shuddhi is there to a sufficient extent. You have understood the nature of your real nature of your actions, that all the actions I am doing is Brahmarpanam. And you have also developed the attitude of Ishvara Prasada Buddhi, understood the law of karma, not in its intricacies, but at least the general, order which the whole thing works. The first step is to stop blaming others for whatever you are undergoing.
I agree with that. I entirely agree.
So it is step by step by step by step. We have to reach this stage of a jnani. That is what Krishna is teaching us.
No, one more thing, Guruji. You said a sannyasi cannot exercise his sport. Am I correct?
Yes.
Now, to begin with,
can you repeat that question, please?
sannyasi cannot exercise his vote.
He can't participate in elections and all that.
Elections.
Voting,
Now, let me give a small example.
Yeah.
Like we have got this Rama Bhadracharya. I think he's somewhere in Uttar Pradesh. He's a blind sannyasi, very knowledgeable on Vedas and everything. Even for the Ram Javanam Bhumi, when the case was being heard in the Supreme Court, he was present there. And he told the judge in Vedas, where is it given, where was Ram born? Those are all fine. However, he keeps predicting what will happen to Modi, when, who will win where. No, that is okay.
That is not okay. Well, even though we all consider him as a sannyasi, there is a very clear, I would say, indication that he is partisan. Why should he care what happens to Modi?
No,
right?
that is because of the inherent fear in him that Hindutva is in danger. That is what I feel.
Sannyasi is supposed to give abhayam to others, right?
Guruji, let me finish.
Not Hindutva. Please, that word Hindutva is not correct. It is Sanatana Dharma.
Okay,
Sanatana Dharma. ठीक है. Now, what I'm saying, that sannyasi is first a human being. Then, over a period of time, he is molded into becoming a sannyasi with intense practice or whatever that he has done, and he has become a sannyasi. Can he detach from the normal truth of life? It is very difficult, especially in the modern times. Unless he detaches and goes into Himalayas or somewhere.
No. That is not the
example. Shankaracharya was an example.
Yeah.
He was predicting and he was preaching everything, but he didn't say that, yes, his message was to change and propagate Hinduism or whatever, Sanatana Dharma, but he was not affected by it. He had a duty to do it, he did it.
Exactly. That is what we have to see. When a sannyasi is doing something, even when he is supporting a particular cause, right? Whether, as Krishna said, the dharma, is he doing it for establishment of dharma, for loka kshemam, whether he is doing it or not. He can do all this without hurting anybody. I mean, of course, Krishnaji gave the example of Shankaracharya. In the case of Shankaracharya also, there were many people who were against the Sanatana, they were going against Sanatana Dharma. That was the reason for him to come into the picture and revive the whole Vedic tradition, right? People had moved away from that. Buddhists had moved away with a different ideology. Jains had moved away with a different ideology. So, Adi Shankara, what he did for Dharma Samsthapanarthaya. What is right, and our scriptures give the right advice or right route map. So he promoted that, but he does not say that destroy all these other people.
No, nobody says that. Of course.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Amongst our sannyasis.
Nobody will say. So if without any dvesham towards others, and if a sannyasi is doing certain things for establishment or re-establishment of dharma, which is what is told in our scriptures. But ultimately, whether you are sannyasi or not, that full trust and shraddha on the scripture should be there. So you feel that what our scriptures say is the right thing. It's an inclusive society is what our scriptures are talking about.
True, true.
So if you understand all that and you are doing certain action, for example, I'll give you, Pujya Swamiji was one of the parties who have gone to the court, Supreme Court through Subramaniam Swami for releasing all the temples from government hold, right?
Yeah, I'm aware of that, yes.
You're aware of that. So why did he do that? It is not a political thing. Because a very important temples are a very important component of our culture. And that is being hijacked and misused by these politicians and, not only in Tamil Nadu, but in various other states also it is being
across
done.
India, yes.
Across India it is being done. So there it becomes whether I am a sannyasi, not a sannyasi. This is for lokakshemam. This needs to be protected. Our culture needs to be protected. So why did Adi Shankara set up all the 4 mutts all over the place? He traveled on foot everywhere and set up mutts and gave 1 mutt to each shishya.
Yes.
Why? He need not have done any of that. Adi Shankara was a Bhagawad Pada, he was already a Jnani rather. Why did he do that? So what we have to do is, whenever we are actually trying to judge a person, let him be a sannyasi or not a sannyasi, when we are trying, of course, judging itself is something we must not do. But suppose, of course, we are by force of habit, we are trying to judge a person. We must have the ability to look beyond the immediate thing. What is the motive? What is it is being motivated by? And if there is some adharma happening, and then this person, even though he is a sannyasi, he is entering the fray to re-establish that dharma, then I would go to the extent of saying that if he needs to go and vote for that, the problem with voting is he will not have a voter ID card in his sannyasa ashrama name. He will have an ID card only in the Purva Ashrama name, right? Because he doesn't have any credentials as a sannyasi rather. Swami Dayananda Saraswati will not appear anywhere in the voters list. It is only Purva Ashrama name. But having said that, as a sannyasi, if he is going to use his Purva Ashrama identity for the purpose of engaging in a voting, and he sincerely believes that voting is for the purpose of good of the mankind, then I would go to the extent. You see, there are strict rules in the scriptures, samatva bhava and things like that and all.
Not in the constitution.
Krishna himself told Arjuna, kill these guys. Right? Where did samatva bhava go there? So we have to be very careful in understanding all these things. We can't mix up the things. That's why in Vivek Chudamani and all, you were there in the class. Ishika, the understanding all this, one has to be very carefully understand. Vedanta is not some entertainment business. If we really want, we have to be very careful understanding. But what ultimately happens is, as far as sannyasi, the motive and the attitude is what matters. The same sannyasi, he may be doing it for becoming a minister, and then I don't know. We
like
don't know
Yogi Adityanath is a chief minister. He's a sannyasi.
Chief minister, exactly. Chief minister.
But he is rendering very good service. He is
He's
rendering very good
not doing
service.
anything for his personal use.
No, nothing at all.
You cannot point out that even the pin he is that.
Yes.
For
Yes.
Lokakshemam only. If for Lokakshemam.
Absolutely.
He can be even a political leader, provided the intentions and the clarity is there in his mind. Why I am doing this? I am a sannyasi. I don't need to do this, but why I am doing this? That we have to be very, very clear. So when
he doesn't have a biased mind.
Sorry?
He doesn't have a biased mind. He doesn't have a biased mind, I said.
Exactly. Now, Modi, he is not a sannyasi, but still he has got the same thing, sabka saath, sabka vikas kind of a thing,
Yes,
right?
correct.
So you need not be a sannyasi for that. He is fully engaged in actions 24/7, but he does not have any personal axe to grind in this whole thing. Rather, he is strong. Is that India is the only place in the entire world where the seeds of dharma can be planted, seeds of dharma can grow. There is no other punya bhumi in the whole world other than the Indian subcontinent.
Absolutely.
So that
King
is
Janaka. King
Sorry?
Janaka is a perfect example. He was
King
a king.
Janaka is a perfect example.
Yes.
So when we study the scriptures, we get so many such examples as to how these great people who are rulers who have done, but they have done everything with a nishkama bhava for lokakshemam, for dharma samsthapanam. This is how we have to understand all these great saints, individuals and all that. Then there are different varieties. Some may be very active, some may be doing the same thing without any action. Ramana Maharshi, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, he chose to sit one place and just, he
was detached. He was detached from everything. Yes.
Totally detached. He didn't even teach, rather. He only gave out some statements which he allowed you to interpret it the way you want. Right?
He was not a King Janaka.
He was not a King Janaka. But then you have, he's also a Bhagavan only, I mean, great saint, great Mahatma. So when we look at all these people, what we have to understand is, without judging, you can evaluate, okay, this is the purpose for which this person is doing, even though he's a sannyasi, is doing it, like we have understood Yogi Adityanath. So then we cannot pass a judgment, oh, this fellow politically motivated, that we should not come to that conclusion, that's all.
So Yogi ji must be using his Purva Ashrama name then, Aadhaar card from his...
Possible, quite possible, because as Yogi Adityanath, I don't think he has any identity card also to go and vote.
No, he stood for elections. He was a member of parliament.
Yeah.
And then he
was a parliament for a number of years, rather.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know.
And he has been a yogi through. He had been yogi throughout.
Throughout, yeah. At a very young age, he took the, become the head of that.
And when his father died, he didn't even go for the funeral.
Yeah.
During the COVID, his father passed away. He didn't go for the funeral.
Correct. So his idea is, through the parliament and through this democratic process, I can, for the welfare of the people, I can work. So that is for him, all these positions, chief ministership is an instrument through which his sannyasa attitude he wants to, I would say, practice. So we must never ever hurry into judging people.
True.
We may have hypothetical examples, but when we take live examples, we must look into it, what exactly it is. For that matter, there are not all the sannyasis are all like Yogi Adityanath. There are sannyasis, we have come across that in media, who are doing everything in the garb of sannyasa. They will do everything for their own selves. Such people are also there.
Yes, yes, yes. Who amassed wealth. They have also
Amassed
there.
wealth, exactly.
Yes,
Or they are
yes,
driven
yes.
by their ego so much. There is yeah, driven by ego that they get into fight and make such statements.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, without a doubt.
Yeah,
They do that. Thank you very much, Guruji.
Thank you.
Namaskaram.
They can set up their own. They can set up their own country also.
Yes. That's a good
Absolutely
one.
correct. Yes. Swami Nityananda.
Yes. He
Okay,
can
thank you very much.
external
Yes.
happiness into Nityananda. That's all.
He has created Kailash.
Jambuddweep.
He is happy. He is Nitya Ananda only.
Nityananda. Anyhow.
Thank you, Guruji.
Hari Om, Hari Om. Thank you. Hariji.
Hari Om Guruji. Thank you,
Hari
Guruji.
Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.
Guruji, I have a query.
Yeah.
When we are talking about love and attachment, I mean pure love and attachment. Is pure love is influenced by our vasana?
Many cases.
Or is it coming under free will?
See, you would have come across people who have even right from their childhood have got a very loving nature, in the sense that they will love everybody around them, right? So it could be both ways. It could come, some element could come from your vasanas where you in this life you develop it further. But if it doesn't come with vasanas, you can use your free will to develop it, understanding the genesis of your unhappiness, understanding all these issues about emotional dependence and things like that and all, understanding the difference between what is love and what is attachment. Because today, when you talk to people, they use the word love only for attachment. There is nothing called, their understanding, in their understanding, there is nothing called love as a pure love. If you give the example of a mother and child, probably they will say, that is pure love, right? But normally, whenever you are saying, I love you, it only means I am attached to you. I am emotionally dependent on you. So both ways it can work. Some element of love it can come to you from your vasanas. But if you are totally, everything is governed by vasanas and you come into this world with pure love, only if you had such vasanas, probably you would have already become a jnani in the previous life itself and not born at all. Isn't it? So we have to understand that pure love can be developed. It's not necessary that you must have some seeds of that. Love is there in all jivas. The element of love, what is love, is there in all jivas. What happens is, because of ignorance, we are trying to misunderstand that love, misunderstand attachment, emotional dependence as that love. That is what is happening. So with knowledge, you can remove that misunderstanding, you can remove that ignorance, and then understand what is pure love is all about. So it's not necessary that it has to come only from vasanas. It can come in this janma also through understanding, because love is the nature of every jiva. That's what we have
I will reword my question. Say with an example of Swami Pujya Gurudev Chinmayananda Swami. He was an atheist and he had his own past. Okay. And he wanted to expose the other Swamis in Rishikesh, etc., etc. That is, but he then came back to the world as Pujya Gurudev. Is it because of his vasana that he got Balan and became Swami Chinmayananda? Is it because of his vasana or because of his free will? I'm now trying to assess.
Because of his jnana,
Yeah.
which he acquired because of his free will.
It has nothing to do with his vasanas, is it not?
You can't say, that's what I'm saying, you know. This Rishi Moolam, Nadi Moolam, we cannot go. They say, you know, never ask what is Rishi Moolam, Nadi Moolam. You cannot know from where it is originating. It could be, some element could be vasanas. So far as we are concerned, even if you say remove the role of vasanas in his life, suppose we assume that x is equal to 0, like that, you know, when we solve a mathematics problem, no? If we assume that vasana represented by x is 0, what we have in front of us is a very compassionate Swamiji, Pujya Gurudev, Chinmayananda, who has been actually working in creating more and more such compassionate people in the world, who will protect the Sanatana Dharma, who will take Sanatana Dharma to the greater heights. Pujya Swami Dayananda Saraswati is a biggest example of what Swami Chinmayananda's contribution is. And when Swami Dayananda Saraswati wanted to, set up his own ashram, he had all the blessings of Swami Chinmayananda, including one person from his staff he sent along with him. He said, you go with him and help him out in setting up the ashram. That is love. No competition, nothing. I'm not jealous. You are going away from me. From tomorrow, I will not talk to you. Nothing like that. So from our perspective, what we have to see is, what is Chinmayananda? What was Chinmayananda? What he did to reach this position in this life? Whether vasanas played a role, vasanas did not play a role, we need not go into that inquiry at all. Having said that, anybody, as I keep repeating in many of my classes, there is a role of karma in your coming to the spiritual path itself, in your pursuing this jnana, this moksha pursuit. There is a role of karma. Without that karma phalam taking shape in this life, you would not be sitting here, you would not be listening to the talks of Swami Chinmayananda, you would not be reading books on Vedanta, you would be doing nothing of that. And I can show you millions of people doing that, doing nothing about it. They don't even know the V of Vedanta. So there is a karma, certainly is there. Now karma also produces certain vasanas.
Yeah, my question is...
Indirectly you can say that all those people who are, Mahatmas, there is a role of vasanas also in that. But our issue is, how do you know that role of asana is there? When did that? Well, from my perspective, I say, when that person was born, he was born with that vasanas, correct?
Yeah.
Why it did not show itself or manifest itself in earlier age? That person also did all the things like normal people do, but at some stage in his life, like Swami Chinmayananda,
all of a sudden,
well, when he met Shivananda, that changed his whole life. He was a normal journalist, interviewing people, writing articles, earning his money. So why is that if the vasana was inherent, why did
Why?
it manifest at that particular time?
True.
Now we cannot say that that was all only because of free will. You can't say. Because when he met Swami Shivananda, he never went with the idea that I am going to become a sannyasi. I am going to be a Shishya of Shivananda. Isn't it? So all these things which happen in our life, if we keep ourselves mind boggled down in all these things, we will be missing out, the real purpose of why we are into all these things. So we should stop worrying or questioning such things.
No, Guruji, I very politely disagree with you. This is because I am thinking of myself that with my own free will can I get moksha in this life.
You have to have Shraddha in Shastra. Shastra says yes. If you trust that, if you have Shraddha in that, you should be able to get it.
That means whatever may be my past, whatever could be my vasanas, but I still have a chance to get liberation in this life.
100%.
Valmiki, so it is not.
What was Valmiki?
That is exactly what that was another example which I wanted to.
You get the right guidance. You get the blessings, the grace of Bhagawad. You can. Shastra says you can. Upanishad after Upanishad says Jivan Mukta you can become. What to talk of Videha Mukta? You can become a Jivan Mukta. You can do it. So the point is that my point only is very simple. Why should we go into all this analysis? What is it going to help us? If I am on a spiritual path and I want to become a Jivan Mukta in this life, I have to only do what? Whatever Shastra is prescribing, use my free will to do that. That's it. Whether X has done, whether I have vasanas. As I said, vasanas, without vasanas, you won't come to Vedanta. So you cannot divide, where free will starts, where vasanas ends, etc.
Then how will you define free will? That means that's free
you
will.
Define free will in one way, very simple. You are presented with an opportunity. You use your free will to make use of that opportunity for your spiritual growth. I mean, even take the example of Pujya Swamiji himself. He himself has narrated his stories. He was never interested in Vedanta. He was staying with his cousin in Chennai. Right? The cousin was a very much interested. Every week he used to go and listen to Swami Chinmayananda's talks.
Okay.
He used to call Pujya Swamiji. Pujya Swamiji said, I don't believe in all these things. Vedanta is all nonsense. Then the cousin insisted. Then Pujya Swamiji bought a lot of books to study. He studied those books. Still, he was not convinced. He said, I threw away all the books. All Vedanta books that he had bought, he threw them away. He said, all this humbug, all this, liberation business and all that. His cousin was very upset. He said that you are actually doing a wrong thing. He says, okay, forget you all these books and all. One lecture you come with me to Swami Chinmayananda's talk. One day. Just one day. And Pujya Swamiji said, I went. Well, okay, just to please him, I went there to that talk. And when Swami Chinmayananda spoke, I think it was Mundaka Upanishad, if I'm not wrong. Some Upanishad Swamiji mentioned. He spoke, then Swamiji suddenly felt that he has heard all these things somewhere earlier. Now, he did not know whether it was in the books that he has read, or whether he has heard it in his previous Janma, he did not know. But whatever he heard started making sense to him. He says, this Swamiji is really focusing and giving the right thing which I could not get from the books that I read. Then he started attending these classes. Regularly, he used to go to Swami Chinmayananda's this thing. Then he became so involved and so convinced that he then left his job and became a part of Chinmaya mission to serve Chinmaya mission in whatever journalistic capacity that he had in terms of editing the books, the newsletter and things like that and all. Now, what will you say? This I have told you Puja Swamiji's one portion of his life, how it all started for him. Whether it was Vasana, it could be Vasana from previous birth, or the books that he had read and rejected. When somebody told him, a guru explained that to him, made sense to him, then he used his free will to continue in that. How are you going to decide? How are you going to judge? And my question is, why should you judge? That's my question.
I am not judging them. I wanted to assess myself.
Yourself, suppose you, let us take both the situations.
Yeah.
You don't have any vasana. You have free will, correct?
Yeah.
Are you now going to use that free will for where you want to go?
Yeah.
Assume you have zero vasanas for Vedanta. Assume. So it's just an assumption. You have a free will, so you go wherever you want. Whether you have vasanas or not, how is it going to affect what you want to do in this life now using your free will? That's my question.
Then I am having more confidence, that my vasana cannot pull me out.
Yeah.
Cannot pull me out.
You see, vasanas are there, can be changed. The way we have to understand vasanas is, whatever we are born with, the inherent tendencies can be changed by free will.
Yeah. Yeah.
So free will is more powerful than vasanas. So you forget about the vasanas. Look at the free will. What I can do using my free will, whether I can go forward, whether I can succeed. That's all is required. Why bring vasanas into the picture? You will find everybody who has, vasanas they might be born with, but they have overcome those disabilities and they have succeeded in life in whatever field that they have pursued. Not necessarily spirituality. And because they say born thieves and all that, they're all vasanas only, but people have actually overcome all those tendencies and become good people. I mean, like we go through the scriptures, examples after examples we get. So many examples. So we have to see what is the purpose of all this inquiry that we are doing. You are denying that there is a free will, then it's a totally different thing. If you say, I don't have a free will, I am fatalistic, I am just driven by vasanas, by my karmas, I can't do anything myself, then I will say that, you are not yet ready for Vedanta.
I don't have to study them.
The first thing Vedanta accepts is there is a free will which we can use for our benefit. Whatever we want to achieve in our life, we have to do some action for it. That action is driven by our free will. We have two options, do it, not do it. When we choose to do it, also free will. When we choose not to do it, also free will. So free will is there either way, right? Starting point. Now that free will, what are we going to utilize it for? That is what we have to question. Now I have got a free will which I can use for my spiritual progress. So I will do everything, every opportunity to go to a guru or study or listen to the talks, etc. That is how you have to take it and not get bogged down in this vasana free will kind of a thing. assume I don't have vasanas for Vedanta, but can I still go ahead? Answer is yes. You can still go ahead, even if you have not vasana. God. According to me, if you ask me, you have every one of us here in this class, everyone who is attending Vedanta classes, come with the vasanas. But not necessarily right from the birth that vasanas will manifest. At some stage in their life, it will manifest. For me also, same thing happened. Swami Mitrananda of Chinmaya Mission was the trigger for me. He was the matchstick which lightened the Vedanta fire in me. One talk on Bhagavad Gita, 1 hour session, that ignited. Before that, I have no idea what Vedanta is, nothing I had. So these kind of, whether I had vasanas or not, probably I had, because that fire has actually, from the time it started, it has actually grown more and more and more. I would not say it was all free will. Opportunities that vasanas gave me, opportunities, or probably I could sense the opportunities because of my vasanas, used my free will to avail of those opportunities. I can give my own example. If I study my own life, what I was till the first talk that I heard in Kuwait by Swami Mitrananda, what that 1 hour, how it changed my entire this thing. I used to strongly feel all these sannyasis, they are doing all these things only to survive. They have no other job. They can't do any other job, so they are going around and all the teaching which they are giving will not fit us at all. We have got so many responsibilities. Today, what we talked about, Grihastha Jnani, no concept of that at all, that you can still be emotionally independent, being in the family, being in the midst of all actions, being in the midst of all turmoil, you can be emotionally independent. That knowledge has come to me now. In fact, it is getting more and more concretized because of my teaching. I am teaching you, then lot thing goes into my brain also, isn't it? First it has to go through this, then only come out of my mouth. So I am myself also learning a lot of things which I missed even when I was in the Gurukula. So whether you will call it free will, whether you will call vasana, I say I don't care whether it is free will or asana. As long as I feel I am in the right path, I am doing the right thing, I am happy with what I am doing, and there is a daily progress which I can monitor. What I am doing, what Gita is teaching me, if I can monitor that, whether I am implementing that on my daily, day-to-day life, I am a satisfied, contented person. So that is what we should focus
Swami Mitrananda is that headband is there, no?
Sorry?
Swami Mitrananda, he has a headband. He always comes. Yeah, okay. He's a very good speaker.
Very good speaker. That's why, it all depends on the Guru also.
Yeah.
The same thing, if somebody tells you, you may not do, but the same thing, a good Guru, a good speaker who can, what is a Guru? He knows the trick how to unravel the message of the Upanishads.
Yeah. And very young.
Big difference.
Yeah.
And that will appeal to your intellect. Your intellect
Yeah.
will not accept anything which is not reasonable. First of all, anything that is to be told to you has to be reasonable. One has to understand what Upanishads talk are reasonable.
Yeah, it's very logical.
Logical.
It's very, very, very logical.
But to bring out that logic in the teaching, in conveying the message, is not possible for every Guru.
True.
See, in Puja Swamiji's so many this long-term courses he has conducted.
Yeah.
Maybe, thousands of people have passed out. But only a couple of hundred will be teachers. Why that? Why? Everybody learning the same thing, the same class from the same Guru should be same. but that doesn't happen. So if there's so many issues involved, and we cannot simplify its very things, vasanas versus free will. It just cannot be boxed into that very simple equation kind of a thing. There's so many things. My approach is don't worry, don't think about all those things, because then you will spend all your time thinking about that only and not making any progress where you have to make progress. That's my approach. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Any other question? Okay, right. Then I'll close the class
Thank
and meet next week. Bhagavad Gita. Okay, Hari Om. Thank you all.
हरि ओम गुरुजी धन्यवादः
Hari Om. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Guruji. Namaste. Thank you very much for the lovely session and the discussion.
Thank you. Namaste.